Hello and welcome to the Wandering Wolf YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mark Rhodes, and alongside me, as always, is my friend and fellow Wolves lifer, Mr. Craig Forward. How are you, mate?
I'm doing really well, mate. I'm doing really well. Good to see you. I'm really excited for
Yeah,
this one.
you too. Yes, me too, because I guess today, oh, it's exciting. It's exciting. I'm like you know what? I was excited about having Bully and Jody Craddock on, but I'm more excited about having this guy on.
Oh, absolutely.
He's someone who lives and breathes Wolverhampton Wanderers. He's the Wolves reporter for The Athletic, and he also does a weekly podcast with Jackie Oatley. We've just been telling him off camera, so to speak, how brilliant it is, the Molyneux View. It's a pleasure to have Tim Spiers with us. How are you, mate?
Good to see you, lads. I love the term lifer, by the way, because it implies a prison sentence, which of course it normally is, really, with Wolves, isn't it?
It's about right. It is about right. Yeah. Tim, lovely to have you on the show. Just wanted to ask you about how's lockdown been? I suppose it's been, well, it's obviously been different for everybody, but for someone like yourself who is used to being with all the fans, it must be a very strange experience this season.
It is strange. I mean, I'm gutted not to be going to all the games, to be honest. You know, I've barely missed one in about 5 years since I started covering Wolves. But there's restrictions on how many media can attend games at the moment. I think it's roughly about 25 journalists per game.
Wow. So
I'm fine to go to all the home games, but there's only a few clubs that will kind of let you in for away games, which is such a shame. But obviously, I shouldn't moan about it because no one else can go. But no, it's different, mate. It is very different. I mean, obviously, like at The Athletic, we're all about kind of having no limits in what we do and massive scope for articles and, you know, travelling here, there and everywhere to kind of get the best stories and the best articles. Like I went to Holland last year to go see John de Wolf, you know, for example, stuff like that. So like, but it's all on the phones now. You know, we all work from home anyway, so there's no change there, but you're just a bit more limited in what you can do. That said, it did open up a few doors in the first lockdown because people who would never normally pick up the phone to me all of a sudden had nothing to do. So they were like, "Oh, go on then, we'll take it." We're a bit bored of watching This Morning, you know. So Steve Morgan, who've been trying to get for years, you know, we got him on the podcast.
Amazing.
And Kenny Jackett, who'd normally be so busy, you know, I gave him a call for an interview, and he picked up the phone as well. So that kind of thing was nice.
Fair play, man. You've spoken to them all, haven't you? Really. So, but how did you actually get into journalism in the first place?
I always loved doing it. I always loved writing rather. My best mate at primary school, his dad worked for the News of the World.
Right.
A guy called David Harrison, who's a massive Wolves fan as well. And he was writing a book with Alan Shearer called Diary of a Season in the 94-95 Premier League title winning campaign for Blackburn. He happened to be doing a diary with Shearer that season. Wow. So I went to meet Shearer when I was a 9-year-old kid.
No, awesome. You didn't.
I wore a Wolves jumper, obviously.
Come on, Alan. Come on.
There's a photo of me and him, and he's covering the Wolves badge up on it. Shearer is for banter. So yeah, I always loved it, mate. And then got terrible grades at school, and then I went to uni to get drunk basically for 4 years, and wasn't.
What else you go for?
And yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I failed one of my years because I was too hungover to turn up to an exam.
Legend.
And in the fourth year, all my friends had gone, but I was still there, up in Nottingham, and I joined the university newspaper. I was sports editor, just for something to do in my spare time, and it kind of went from there. Really, I come back to Wolvo after that. I went to Wolvo College, and then to do a proper course, and then I went to the Express and Star to get work experience. And then while I was on work experience, I was sent out to interview Gordon Brown, who was Prime Minister at the time.
Oh, wow.
And that just had me hooked, mate, to be honest. And then that was it.
So what you're trying to say is, Tim, is whenever you're drinking, there's always something good happens at the end.
Exactly. That's a good motto.
No good story ever started with, I was sober at this party. And
This is true. Yeah. This is true. But you must have, then, if we think about it, the dream job, really, because, well, I suppose it can be a dream and a nightmare following Wolves, as we all know, but...
Might as well get paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like to cover Wolves for your job and write about it, you must be living the dream.
Yeah, it is, mate. It's absolutely amazing. It's kind of my two passions in life combined, really, you know, writing and Wolves. So I never ever thought it would happen, because there's only ever one man or woman who gets to do that job traditionally, and that's the reporter of the Express and Star. So the chances of me actually getting that seem so slim. So no, it's fantastic, mate. I mean, I guess the only downside is you kind of lose your hobby, because I love being a fan. I was always going on away days. I had a season ticket at home as well. So you do miss that sort of release. You're not supposed to celebrate in the press box, mate.
I bet it's hard though.
It's hard,
Oh God, imagine like last minute winner against Albion. Like, not happened a lot, but do you know what I mean? If you're a fan, you're a fan. You're a fan first, aren't you?
It's like it's sort of been programmed out of me a bit in recent years. But then the Albion game recently, I don't want to dwell on it. I'm sure you guys don't either. I was absolutely distraught at full time. I didn't sleep the night before because I was nervous, and I didn't sleep after the game because I was absolutely gutted. But I guess, but then that's a good chance to really get stuck into some meaty topics and write about what the hell went wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Indeed. Yeah. It can't have been that difficult to find the bad things.
Yeah, well, people have been saying to us, you started your channel, and we haven't really been doing very well, have we? We haven't won until the other night.
That's true. Well, we want to get beat Chorley.
Taking Chorley out of the equation,
which felt like a defeat.
And I go, no, what are you going to talk about? But what I've actually found is it's probably easier to find topics to talk about when you're not doing so well, because there's lots of things that could be going wrong, or there's lots of analysis. But when you're winning, it's like, yeah, that was great goal. Yeah. So I suppose there's plenty to always go at.
Yeah, definitely. In the few years I've been doing it, obviously Express and Star for 4 years and out at the Athletic, as you can imagine, stats and hits and how many people are on your website, these things are all relayed to writers, really.
Yeah.
So you know what stories do well and what don't generally, but also when people are engaged and when they're not. And it's when things are going bad is when they're at their most engaged. They want to read about it. They want to hear about it. They want to know what's going wrong. They want to know when the manager's going to be sacked. They want to know when you're going to sign a player, that kind of stuff. But also when it's going really well, you've got massive engagement then as well. Like obviously the run in Europe, the Championship promotion season. It's when it's in the middle. And I remember the first season I started was under Kenny Jackett, 2015-16. I think we finished 14th and we did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And no one was interested. There was just massive apathy. So that's the worst time really to be a sort of a football reporter, because nobody's interested in what you're saying.
But now it must be great to be there. Obviously, we've got no fans this season, but when we went up into the Premier League, that first game at home against Everton, I was working. I was at St George's Park doing a show, and I was in there with a lot of Everton fans for some reason because we were filming something, and just the joy on the Wolves players' face and the fans' face just to be there now. It's like it's a totally different club now, isn't it? Have you noticed that when we kind of like hold our heads up high and our shoulders back, like we're a proper Premier League team now? That's why probably this season it's been a bit of a kick in the teeth, really, because what I'm trying to ask you is, have we found our level, or is 7th where we should be aiming for, or have we just been lucky?
It's a good question. You make such a good point about the pride. I remember, I don't know if you were at the semi-final. Again, another game I don't want to talk about at all. But the build up to that, like the scenes outside Wembley before the game, I spent a bit of time with the guy I used to go and sit with, for old time's sake. Yeah. And we were having a can of cider down Wembley Way. And but the scenes were just amazing. It was such a united feeling amongst the whole club, as it has been for sort of 3-4 years really, until this season. And they have kind of really lost that streak of positivity, and it's troubling times at the moment. It's difficult to say what the level is, because what's anyone's level this season? Liverpool were one of the best Premier League teams we've ever seen last year. And their squad's got stronger. I know they suffered with injuries, but their aim at the moment, if you listen to Jurgen Klopp, is qualifying for Champions League. So it just shows. And Sheffield United were great last season. Yeah, awful this season. Again, the same team, same manager. So there's so many kind of unpredictable elements with the season that's really kind of messed everyone up. I mean, it's a season not just for Wolves, for everybody, that's been defined by how clubs deal with fatigue and injuries. and the inconsistencies that come with that, plus having no fans, it's who deals best with that, who survives really and thrives this season.
Yeah.
And we know what Wolves are like with their meticulous preparations, and they're still suffering from the knock-on effects for me of having no pre-season, of having the longest season in their history last year, 59 games, which dragged on long. And then the injuries, Jimenez and Johnny. I know it's the same for every club, but Wolves aren't used to this kind of disruption and inconsistency, and that they've suffered for it really.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because I think we kind of we've taken it for granted for a couple of years now because of how small the squad is and how lucky we've been with injuries. Like we didn't have an injury for 2 years. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Not a big one, and now you've got 5 players that will probably walk into that 11 that are injured, and then you've got people, especially on social media. Everybody's a manager. Everybody's a critic. Where do you sit with the Nuno out brigade? Because me and Craig, we've had a very, very frank discussion about this, and we have not uttered those words ever. Because, for me, as a personal opinion, and I know Craig feels similar, Nuno should be getting a statue. In comparison to what he's achieved in the time that he has done. And for people to say Nuno out, they've got a very, very short memory. I don't know how you feel about it. You can tell us what you feel.
I think those people calling for his head, they haven't probably supported Wolves for too long. I mean,
or too short.
If they've only been following for a few years or the last 5 years even, let's say, maybe they're not used to seeing what we've watched in our lifetime, But for us,
Nuno suggested that the other day, that he said these fans. He said he accepts the criticism, and I suspect he's seen quite a bit of it. I was sort of trying to rib him about the fact he's got a Twitter account he never uses. But he kind of said, if these fans that are criticising me now were here in the good days as well and saying nice things about us then as well, then that's okay. But if they've just sort of arrived recently and they're there with faceless Twitter accounts, as what he's kind of suggesting, you don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
But I get it. I get the frustration because it's a totally different experience watching the game at home, and people are just sat there frustrated. Normally, you vent your frustration by screaming at the top of your lungs at the game, and then you get to the pub with your mates, and then 3-4 hours later, you might take to Twitter to share your opinion, and you've calmed down by then.
Yeah,
whereas now, I see it on my timeline. It's after every goal. It's after every missed chance. There's real vitriol,
Nuno out! It's in capital letters and everything. It's like, calm down.
Honestly, every time they take a short corner, it's get
the short corners though. I'm kind of with them on that. It's like, please, just get it into the box. Oh my God!
You absolutely need that time. You go to the pub after you have a pint. That's where it's your release, isn't it? You tell your best mate or your group of lads that you're with or whatever. You get it off your chest, and I know social media could be a nasty place at times, but you've already vented and you've already had your little discussion. But I think now, obviously, like you say, it's getting worse and worse. I think.
Yeah, but, it's been heightened massively. But what I would say about Nuno, and as to your question, is that they've had 3 years of astonishing success. Astonishing. That 12, 13 other Premier League clubs are dying to do what Wolves have done and spent more money in some cases to do it. And Wolves have done it. And it's been remarkable what they've done. So to now have a blip and for people to kind of say, right, let's get rid of him at the first opportunity.
It's just
that might sting him a bit, because I think Fosun sort of probably feel a bit like that as well, that people are starting to question their commitment and motives and the amount of money that they've put in. And now people are saying, where's the money? Why are you not spending in January? During a pandemic and Brexit and the rest of it. It's just, I think there's just a general lack of patience in the world at the moment, which I guess you've got to kind of understand. And do you know what? The answer to it is to switch Twitter off for a bit, because I've done that when I have a day off, and you have a nicer day when you do it.
This is so true.
Yeah,
let's read a book. Let's read a few books. The Wolves' history. Oh God. Okay, so this season, it's all about the back three. Do we play a back three? Do we play a back four? So are you of the opinion that we should play the formation that got us to the party in the first place, or are you of the opinion it's horses for courses? It's a kind of, I suppose we've got a lot of injuries at the moment, so it's like square peg round hole, especially with Kilman playing left back. Just don't get me started on that. But it's like, here's Kilman turning. Oh my God, the poor lad. But what I'm asking you is, like, what's your favoured, when you look at the Wolves team, what makes you go, I like that. That's good.
That's a good question. I would say I really like 4-2-3-1 in terms of going forward, and I could see why he made the change in theory, because the game before it happened, they'd gone to Leicester away. I don't know if you saw that one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's awful.
They had one attempt on goal in the whole first 45 minutes, and that was from 50 yards by Neves. they just, and Jimenez was in the team at this point, and they were just showing no attacking intent whatsoever. I think they'd forgotten how to get upfield, and I can see why he changed it. But then they've suffered so much from injuries, and I think if you're going to rip up what's made you so successful for 3 years in a row, and like honestly, let me tell you, you speak to some of the players about how they train. And I remember the first summer that 3-4-3 was brought in, Nuno's first summer, and in Austria, they went on an 11-day pre-season trip, which I was lucky enough to go to. And they were doing 3 sessions a day on shape, wow. With and without the ball, 3-4-3. It was drilled into them. Honestly, they just knew it off by heart. So, and that's been the same experience for all the players over the last 3 years. So to then, in the middle of a disruptive season where you've had, like I said, no pre-season, international breaks, injuries, to then rip that up and try something new. Yeah. I think from memory, the day they tried it was Southampton at home for the first time.
What a weird game that was.
And I don't think they'd had too long to look at it. From memory, that was a Monday night after an international break. So it's not like they'd had a week at Compton to really kind of give it a go. So I was surprised at Nuno, because it's not like him. I think 4-2-3-1 is the answer in the long term. When they've got everyone fit, when they've got Jimenez in, when they've got a solid left back in Johnny, who they miss probably more than Jimenez.
So much.
I think there's probably 7 or 8 players that can really take this team forward in that formation. It'll just need a few additions in the summer. But if you think of Podence, Traore, and Neto behind Jimenez.
So sexy, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then,
that's ridiculous. That
absolutely. So it is, isn't it? It's as good as what the majority of Premier League teams can offer.
It's a top 6 team. Really, it's a top 6 team.
Right, absolutely. So I think you go with that, but you've got to sort out your defence. And if they're going to play a back 4, they need better defenders, and better defenders will probably cost a lot of money, because it's not like you can buy a young Pedro Neto on the cheap for 16 million and blood him through. You know, when you buy a defender on the cheap, if he's young, then do you know what I mean?
You're going to concede, don't you? Yeah.
They want a ready-made one like Ruben Diaz, who they had to look at.
And he went to City, which is like, that's fair enough.
Well, that's it, though. You know, they identified him as a top target, and I think they were quoted 50 million, and that's out of their price range. And then a year later, he goes to Man City for 65 million. So that's a massive challenge for the summer. But for the here and now, I think you've got to stick with your tried and trusted to get results.
If you need it, Tim, where you say it's out the price range, if you need it and it's obviously going to bring you a better league position, and or more wins, or obviously a better style, conceding less goals, which is what the problems are. What is the price range on that? Surely we should be going to splash out and really make a statement.
To be fair, if you're paying 35 million for Semedo, then an extra 15 million, I know it's, we're talking monopoly money here, it's ridiculous, but an extra 15 for a company like Fosun, who, have pumped so much money, and 30 whatever million it was for Silva.
If you think what it can bring you in the long term, we've got to...
That's true.
We bought Catroni for 16 million, and you know what I mean? And we were like, basically, it's like that Simpsons gif with the old man puts his hat on the thing and then he walks out again. He's like, poor Catroni. He's like, 16 million. No, it's nothing to sniff at. Like, that would have been our record signing a few years ago. So, do you know what I mean? We are in a different place now, but I tend to agree that you need to go with your tried and trusted formula.
That's Fosun's whole philosophy. Is everything is done with how's this going to benefit us in the long term. You know, whether that's signing a striker or hiring a tea lady, is this going to still work 5 years down the line? Do you know what I mean? That's how they look at everything. They don't tend to buy kind of ready-made players, you know, other than sort of Jimenez and Semedo. Everyone else has been a bit younger, certainly in the last couple of years. So do they have to change that if they're going to break the top six? Maybe.
Well, as a fan, and Mark as well, myself, for as long as we have been, obviously, I think I would much prefer the club to be run that way.
100%.
You know, that is the fundamentals of get that right, and the rest will come. Yeah. Whereas going out and spending twice as much on a player than, you know, I hate going out in January and spending over the odds. Yeah, you've got to get. It's like, you know, it is run like a business. So, it is a business, and you've got to get that bit right. Otherwise, the whole rest of it's going to fail, isn't it?
It is. I guess the only issue is if you're buying young players that are going to improve over time, then when they get to sort of superstar status like Jota, for example, and if they're then sold on, you know, we've seen the disruption they've had this season with two players that they've sold, Doherty and Jota. Yeah. So if you're going to blood them, sign them on the cheap and then sell them on for a massive profit, it's those cycles that you need to really kind of look at, and they haven't done that this summer at all, really, and that's what's cost them.
Well, we hear a lot of that word transition, don't we? And I think we are in that little grey area at the moment, aren't we? Because we've got a few players there. We've talked about it. Neto, Podence. That Neto for me, he's world class now at 20. God knows what he's going to be like in 5 years. I don't know whether he's going to be at our club, but we signed a massive contract. So I think, you know, if we get a lot of money for him, he's going to be a world beater, that lad. So we've got a lot of quality players. I just think we've been very unlucky with injuries. But going back to your point with Fosun, like they're talking long term. As a Wolves fan, that makes my heart sing, really, because that makes it feel like to me that they're in it for the long haul. You know, that's amazing to hear. It's not like one of these companies that say, let's get all the money we can possibly can out of this thing that we're doing. Because, you know, we are kind of a side project as well. They are a business that have got loads of other stuff going on. Yeah. So it's lovely to hear that, you know, they're in it for the long haul.
There's a club not so far down the road that's owned by, you know, Chinese owners, and they're not doing so well. So, you know, you can't have any arguments with Fosun from where I'm sitting, and you just need some patience. And I think some of the Wolves fans need to learn that sometimes.
Well, there's lots of things that they do that fans don't see as well. That I've got to tell you, they're putting a massive emphasis on esports and fashion now. I think we've seen it a little bit. We see it a bit on social media with the esports and the fashion thing. People might remember when they went to Shanghai for a pre-season tour. Yeah, they had a fashion show, which is probably the most bizarre experiences I've ever had in my life. But like that's a big thing for them as well. Wolves fashion in China. We're not going to hear much about that, but it's trying to grow this brand, this wolf head, these gold colours, the name Wolves. It's massive for them, honestly. And they talk about a 20-year plan at the club, and I see no kind of lesser commitment from them whatsoever. I just think the transfer strategy might need a bit of a tinkering, depending on how quickly they want to get in the top six. But equally, I think when they first came in, they were talking about wanting to be the biggest club in the world in 10 years, and I think they realise that's not happening. So they're having to look at it a different way.
Wow, that's big talk, though, isn't it? There. So we've had some questions in, a couple of questions that we wanted to ask you. So I've got one here from Matt Morgan. He says, I know it's hard to gauge without fans, but what's been your highlight of the season so far and your lowest point watching the team? Jesus. My highest point was when we beat Sheffield United 2-0 and I put a tenner on us getting to the Champions League. I ain't getting that money back.
God, what is the hype? The best game was Chelsea at home, but I bloody missed it. I was at a wedding.
I listened to the Molyneux View. You were like, it's like the worst game to miss, the worst game possible. But that was good, pretty good. Yeah, lowest points I don't even need to ask you, really, do I?
God, there's been some competition, but yeah, it has got to be the Albion. It felt apocalyptic that day. And it reminded me of the 5-1, which I couldn't believe would happen on that day. You know, we've been waiting 9 years to beat them. We finally got a much better team than them. Finally, right? I was phoning like my Albion equivalent colleagues the week before, and they were like, oh, we've got the worst team in the league. Like Sheffield United, miles better than us. Like, there's no way that we'll win at Molineux. I was like, and then just look how bad they are. They haven't beaten anyone else. I mean, it's just shocking.
I know, it's shocking.
It was an unbelievable day. Like with Nuno just seemed to lose the plot, and Cody taken off. It was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, what was
that? I was going to get, wasn't it?
What? Yeah, what do you think was going on with Nuno to take Cody off? Because do you think it's because Cody, you know, for a couple of the goals, he was probably the main contributor to it. Yeah. Do you think he just went, you know what, I've had enough. You've had a stinker today. I'm just getting you off.
I don't know. I think he had a very specific idea that he needed more height in the box because we kept losing headers from set pieces, which they have been doing for a while. And the long throw for their goal came from Neves being beaten in the air and then Cody being beaten in the air. Yeah. So I think he thought, I've got to bring Aït-Nouri on as an attacking left back, but I still need height in the box, so we'll go with Saïss and Bolly as a back two. And I think he's just gone on that issue, forgetting really that Cody's the heartbeat of the team.
He's the captain.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, those last 20 minutes with Cody off, with Neves off, with Moutinho off, there was no one talking except for John Ruddy in the family enclosure.
Less John Ruddy.
And the whole thing just completely fell apart. It was alarming. Nuno seems to lose the plot, and that was a real reality check for him. In terms of formation, because he ditched it for the next game, albeit only shortly. And also, I think for Fosun in terms of buying a striker, because they weren't planning on bringing anyone in at that point. And I know they scored 2 goals that day, but I think it was more about, look, our style's just gone here. We need someone who's like Jimenez, and we need him now.
God, we've done well with him though, haven't we? How good does he look?
Yeah, really good.
Oh. Really good. Really, he's got exactly what they've lacked, hasn't he? He'll get some goals as well, I think.
I think he will. Yeah, he reminds me of Jimenez. He really does. He reminds me so much of Jimenez.
Do you think the two will play together? You know, when and if Jimenez is back this season, do you think they'll have a good partnership up front, or will it? What do you think about the situation there?
Yeah, probably a little bit too similar. And then you've got to get Penance and Neto and Traore in the team as well, haven't you? Really? So but I tell you what, if Jimenez, fingers crossed and God willing, he comes back as he was. Hopefully this season as well. They're very optimistic about it.
Be amazing.
Yeah.
I'd still be signing Willian Jose anyway because
100%,
they've got to have a slightly bigger squad. I know it's Nuno's big thing, but it's cost them this season having such a small squad. I think you need a proper good backup striker for Jimenez.
Yeah. We've got another question. It's from Adam Wiggin. Cheers, mate, for this. I don't know whether you're going to know this. Probably not, but let's have a go anyway. Are we going to activate the option for another year on Roman Saïss's contract? Do you know? Have you had a chat with Nuno about this?
I haven't, but I would imagine that they will because
it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
100% they will, even if they want to move him on, because you don't let him go on a free.
No.
You give him another year but you sell him at the same time. Do you know what I mean? That's how it works. So
absolutely.
The bigger decision there is what do they do at centre half, and I think he's the most vulnerable in terms of a first team place. I think Bolly and Cody will stick around, but Saïss, as much as you might still like him in the squad as an option, I think he'd be getting less game time if they brought a proper defender in the summer.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough, I think. A couple more questions because we don't want to keep you for hours and hours. We could talk for hours and hours.
Mate, I'm just sat here watching Vikings, to be honest.
Sound. Oh, come on, let's have another hour. Have you ever been in an interview that's got a bit awkward?
Yes. Oh God, yes. Yes, absolutely. Jesus. Well, Nuno has his moments in press conferences. I mean, he's called me out before and he's given me the silent treatment.
Was he?
I didn't know why. It's happened twice, actually.
Oh, God.
Literally, you can imagine how awkward it is. He's chatting away to everyone, giving his answers. I ask him a really mundane question, and he's just like... and he can stare you out with the best of them, and it's just silence. It's like, my God.
I want to be stared at by Nuno.
No way.
So that's pretty awkward. Jez Moxey was always very, very, very difficult to interview. He saw it as like a bit of a boxing match and a challenge, really.
Oh, right. And, so you're trying to get something out of him, like, yeah.
Well, you know, he'd invite you in and sort of ask anything, and then you'd ask something, and he goes, "Why are you asking me that?" Like,
brilliant, brilliant. So, it's an interview.
It was always like a power thing with Jez. You know, I think he wanted you to write nice things about the club, and because things weren't going very well at the time. But he was very, very difficult person to interview.
Mate, well, they're great ones. Can I just say?
Can I just say actually another one sprung to mind. I had to interview Patricio a couple of years ago. He's in China, and he didn't feel confident enough in his English to do it in English, right?
Right.
So I recorded it. I asked him my questions in English, and he replied in Portuguese. And someone was going to translate it later on. But I had to ask him questions. He would then answer. I'd have no idea what he said.
He was just going.
He could be like, "You are an idiot. Why have you asked me that question?" I'll be like, "Oh, okay, interesting. How's next season going to go?"
Carry on. That's amazing.
That was awkward.
That China trip must have absolutely been incredible.
It's mate. That's Shanghai there actually. I
nice.
Totally fell in love with the place, mate. It was incredible.
Brilliant. Awesome. Well, on that note, I just want to say, Tim, thank you so much for coming on. And also, the Molyneux View, we were saying this before we came on air, like you and Jackie Oatley are brilliant together.
Superb, yeah.
Just give so much insight, and it's wonderful. It's a podcast that we love to listen to.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out every Tuesday.
Thanks, guys. And I absolutely love what you're doing. You know, I'm not lying. I told you beforehand. I've been watching your videos. Rhodes, where's your hair gone, mate? Have you done a DIY?
Oh, mate, I've gone for Bully, circa 1990, haven't I? I've gone lockdown hair. It was becoming a mushroom. I've had a nightmare.
I would say it's nice to meet you virtually finally, but you won't remember this at all. But we did meet once in back in the day. In Blastoff.
Oh God!
Blastoff. Yes.
So like, this was when everyone just started to really know who you were.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you'd gone to Blastoff. Maybe just to laud it and be like, "Yes, Mark Rhodes is here."
Oh God!
He did used to do that a lot too. He did do that.
Stop it!
He was just surrounded. You couldn't move at all. And then I'd had a few rums, mate, and I just come up to introduce myself because I knew you were a Wolves fan. I was like,
Top man. Top man.
I think you just smiled and nodded, and then we went our separate ways.
It was killing in the name of going off.
Oh, mate.
What a tune.
Wouldn't have interrupted that to speak to you.
Unbelievable. Good times, man.
They need to bring Blastoff back, man.
You're not wrong.
Absolutely.
Little Civic, Blastoff, Cheeky, what was it? Cheeky Monkeys on Friday.
Yeah. Blastoff Saturday, yeah.
The best times.
The days.
Anyway, thank you so much, Tim. And it's been lovely speaking to you and getting an insight into everything Wolves, mate. You take it easy. We've been Wandering Wolf.
Great to speak.
Cheers,
nice
Tim.
one.